When it comes to the NFL, there is never a shortage of controversy or debate, no matter what the topic might be. But for Detroit Lions fans, this one particular subject is causing verbal feuds and wars among fans, and it doesn't seem to have an end in sight. We're going to talk about it in this episode, folks, so stay tuned.
What are we? What makes us what we are and what we're going to be? It's grit. It's what we started with last year, guys. Doesn't matter if you have one ass cheek and three toes. I will beat your ass.
Can definitely compete with the big dogs.
10-5 end zone touchdown Detroit Lions.
You guys are unbelievable, man. I'm telling you.
We are driven by Detroit.
Hello, all Lions fans, and welcome on back to yet another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. I'm your host, David T. Pike, and as always, we're diving on in. So, here's the thing, folks. When you take a look at the NFL, the best way I can describe the NFL is it's a machine that never, ever stops working. It never stops running. It never stops doing its job. That's the best way I can describe it. It never sleeps. It never ceases. It just keeps on going. Well, when you think about it, what's one of the things about the NFL that draws the most attention? It gets the most, controversy, the most debate about it. It's contracts. Contracts, when they're handed out to players, there is always something that is going to be said about them, good or bad. It just is inevitable. Now, however, though, the matter of debate about, whether or not it's a good contract or a bad contract, that gets amplified almost instantaneously depending upon how much value is associated with the contract and likewise who the contract is associated for. So that is why when it comes to contracts, there's always attention, which likely means there's always controversy, always debate, always confrontation and conversation. Well, here's the thing, folks. I can say this right now. NFL fans, just in general, are a very precocious bunch. We're definitely guys and gals that when it comes to talking about football, we will instantly get defensive. We will instantly go to bat for what we believe in. But when it comes to Lions fans, we kind of take that to a whole nother level. Because here's what I'm going to say about Lions fans. We as fans of the Lions want our team, our management to go out and sign players and we want to bring them in. And it's like, oh yeah, we want this really great player, this really big name player. But the problem is there's always these fans out there that want to get these top dollar players. But the problem is they never want to pay top dollar for them. They want to believe, oh, we can get this player for a lot less. This player's we don't have to pay them as much to get them. Unfortunately, that's not the way the real world works. Well, here's how I'm going to put this in relation to what's been going on this offseason. Lions fans have gotten to witness the fact that the Lions have negotiated 3 monster contracts this offseason, with 2 of those contracts making the players that received them the highest paid at the position that they were at. That being Amon-Ra St. Brown for wide receiver and Penei Sewell for tackle. Now, I'm going to say this. Those contracts did not receive nearly as much debate or as much controversy as for Lions fans because, well, it's kind of hard to debate with Penei Sewell. I mean, for crying out loud. Like, try and point out 5 better tackles in the NFL on either left or right side that are better than Penei Sewell. You really can't. And Penei Sewell can play both left and right just as equally well. You take a look at Amon-Ra St. Brown, every single year he's been with the Lions, he's gotten better and better, and he's easily one of the best wide receivers in the NFL, so he should be paid like one of the best. And debatably, he should be paid as the best. But those 2 contracts, like I said, they don't have near as much controversy or debate or, ability to start a fight, a verbal fight, I would say, amongst Lions fans as far as the last one, which is Jared Goff's contract. That contract, the one that we just heard news about a couple of days ago, it has caused so much argument, it has caused so much opposition, belly aching, whining, crying, and bemoaning from certain Lions fans about the amount of money Jared Goff got. I'm just like, okay, y'all. You obviously don't know what the hell you're talking about when it comes to this contract, when it comes to Jared Goff, when it comes to the value that it has for the Lions and as far as for the rest of the NFL. So it's like, okay, it's time for David to do what David does best. It's time to lay out the cold, hard truth. It's time to pull out the raw data points, and it's time to, enlighten some of y'all. I'm not saying everybody needs enlightenment, but I'm talking about those that want to say that Jared Goff got overpaid because That, to me, saying that he got overpaid is simply just being a professional tape recorder and not having an informed opinion, which is what my job is now to do, is to inform you. Now, what exactly is the issue with the contract itself? The issue of the contract is the amount of money Jared Goff got. The issue is not whether or not Jared Goff is a good quarterback. Most people at this point have come to the belief that Jared Goff is a top 10 quarterback. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL because it's kind of hard to argue with the statistical production. The last 2 years, he's put up top 10, damn near top 5 numbers. He took the Lions to the NFC Conference Championship game. He won them a playoff game. He got them a division crown title. It's hard to argue with that nonsense. But what's not going to be hard to argue is whether or not you believe that he's worth the amount of money he got. That's where the controversy comes in. That's where the debate comes in. And that is why when you tune into freaking social media, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Twitter, whether it's even YouTube, there are fans out there that will instantly jump right on it and say, yeah, Jared Goff got paid too much. And if you try to disagree with them, they will get violent about it, like verbally violent. And it's like, okay, time out now. It's time to have a grown-up conversation. It's time to bring in the numbers. It's time to really sit down and have a logical debate about this, which is what I do best. So let's think about this, folks. I decided to ask the question, did Jared Goff actually, get overpaid? Did he get paid too much? So I was like, what's the best way to answer this question that some fans are whining about, they're belly aching about, they're complaining about? I said the best way to answer this question is we have to have 3 measurable parameters to answer the question. And what were the parameters that I came up with? Well, they were either had to be quantifiable in terms of the total quantity amount of data, or it had to be based upon quality of data. This is what I decided to go with. I decided to go with statistical production, I decided to go with primetime success, and playoff postseason success. Because, well, that's what defines whether a quarterback is good or not. Hey, can you put up the numbers in terms of stats? Can you win in the big games in the regular season? And can you win the big games in the postseason when it really matters? So I was like, okay, I have my parameters. Now let's take a look at the quarterbacks that since 2021, since Jared Goff became a part of the Detroit Lions, that have gotten contracts. When you take a look at that, there are 9 quarterbacks that I decided that you could throw into this conversation to have a decent debate upon to make a total set of data points of 10, including Jared Goff, to make this argument. So those quarterbacks are Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, Kirk Cousins, Baker Mayfield, Geno Smith, Josh Allen, and Matthew Stafford, and obviously Jared Goff. Well, here's the thing, folks. When you take a look at those 9 other guys opposite of Jared Goff, from 2021 to 2023, you got a lot of data points to go over. You got a lot of stats to go over. I'm just going to put this simply as I can. I'm not going over every single one in depth. I would drone on and on for minutes on end. So instead what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put them up on the screen so that way you guys can look at them as they kind of are held up there for a little bit, and I'm just going to talk about it at large. What you're going to notice really quickly out of all the quarterbacks as far as their statistics, whether it's pass completions, attempt, percentage, yards, touchdown interceptions, passer rating, whatever the case might be, is that there is a very clear distinction between which quarterbacks have the good numbers or the better numbers versus the others. Guys like Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Josh Allen, Goff, Stafford, Kirk Cousins, those guys have the top numbers because they are the more prolific pocket passers. Those are the guys that do more of their damage through the air. It not only reflects in terms of the quantity of the numbers that they have that you're seeing up on the screen, but it also reflects in the quality of their stats. They typically have a higher passer rating. They typically have a higher completion percentage. So what you're noticing is that from those quarterbacks that I'm specifically referencing, out of the 10 that are on that screen, is that typically the ones that do more of their damage from the pocket are the ones that have the better passing stats. Well, here's the other thing. When you take a look at all 10 of those names, take a look at what those guys got paid in terms of the total dollar amount of the contracts they received. Joe Burrow got $275 million. Justin Herbert, $262 million. Lamar Jackson got $260 million. Then you got Josh Allen, who had $258 million. Then you have Jalen Hurts, who had $255 million. Jared Goff obviously got $212 million. Then you got Kirk Cousins at $180 million. Stafford at $160 million. Baker at $100 million, and Geno Smith at $75 million. So not only do you have a wide range as far as the quality and quantity of stats that each passer is putting up, you also have a very large and diverse range as far as how much money each quarterback is getting paid. Well, we'll talk about the money here in a little bit, but I wanted to go with the stat parameter just a little bit further. Out of all 10 of those quarterbacks, you want to know where Jared Goff ranks in relation to all the other 9 quarterbacks that he's in with in terms of completion percentage, yards, the likes of it? He's 5th out of that list in terms of completion percentage from 2021, 3rd in terms of yards, 5th in terms of passing touchdowns, and 4th in terms of passer ratings out of the other 9 quarterbacks on that list of 10 for passing stats from 2021. When you take a look and you compare Jared Goff in terms of all active quarterbacks from 2021 to now, Jared Goff is 11th in passing percentage as far as completion percentage rate, 4th in terms of passing yards, 7th in terms of passing touchdowns, and 8th in terms of passer rating. So when you take a look at out of the other 9 quarterbacks that have recently gotten paid, Jared Goff is right smack dab in the middle, actually kind of leaning a little bit more to the upper end of the chart. When you take a look at all the other quarterbacks that have been active since 2021, when I was doing this whole measurement, Jared Goff is easily in the top 10 because he's 4th in yards, 7th in touchdowns, 8th in passer rating. The only one that's outside of 10 is completion percentage. So it's like, okay, Jared Goff against the other guys that have gotten paid in the same time frame, he's clearly holding his own, but when he's also stacked up against all the quarterbacks that are active in terms of the statistical parameters from 2021, he's more than holding his own. He's definitely one of the top quarterbacks. So as far as statistical production, did Jared Goff get overpaid? The answer is simply put, hell freaking no. When you have a quarterback that's easily in the top 10, almost top 5 of statistical production, he deserves to get paid what he got paid. But that's only the first statistical parameter. Now we need to take a look at some other stuff here. Let's think about this from, like I said, the pay perspective. There are currently right now, with Jared Goff being the most recent addition, there are currently 8 quarterbacks in the NFL right now whose contracts are valued at over $200 million or more. That's Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Kyler Murray, and Jared Goff. Like I said, Jared Goff is the most recent addition to the 200-plus club. Well, I decided to think about it from this perspective. Obviously, everybody's going to compare Jared Goff's contract to all these other guys and say, well, Jared Goff got overpaid because, he's not doing what these other guys have done. Really? Let's think about this here. What does Jared Goff have as accomplishments over all these other guys on the list? Well, let's think about it. Jared Goff has a 2-0 record over Patrick Mahomes as far as games playing against him. I don't know too many other quarterbacks in the NFL that have got a perfect win-loss record against Patrick Mahomes. And better yet, both of those wins were in primetime games. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Oh, let's go to Joe Burrow. Jared Goff has a better primetime record in terms of important games in the regular season than Joe Burrow does. We'll talk about that in a little bit. You take a look at Justin Herbert. Jared Goff has a better primetime record and a better playoff record. Again, we'll talk about that in a little bit. You take a look at Lamar Jackson. Jared Goff has better passing statistics by a damn mile. He also has a better playoff record than Lamar Jackson. You take a look at Josh Allen. Jared Goff has better playoff record and success over Josh Allen because he has a better record and has gone further in the playoffs than Josh Allen has. Because Jared Goff has actually gotten to a Super Bowl and has been to 2 conference championship games, whereas Josh Allen has never gotten past that whole point. He's never gotten to a Super Bowl. And he's only been, I think, to the conference championship game 1 time. Then you take a look at Jalen Hurts. Jared Goff has a better primetime record, has a better playoff record, and he has better passing statistics, as I just demonstrated and put up on the screen no more than a couple minutes ago. And then you take a look at Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray, I completely had forgotten about that he was in the 200-plus club because, well, he really hasn't done anything over the last 2 years except, be a bad quarterback and be on the sideline hurt. But when you take a look at Kyler Murray, Jared Goff has a better playoff record and he has better passing statistics. So think about that. Just from the other 7 other guys out of the 8 guys that make up the $200+ million club of quarterbacks, Jared Goff can be able to stand amongst them and say, yeah, I've got something that I can say I have as accomplishment over the others. Now, granted, obviously, Patrick Mahomes, he blows all the other ones out of the water because he's the guy that's got the hardware. But that doesn't necessarily mean that Jared Goff is going to be like, hey, you know what? I don't deserve to be in this club of 200 of the 200 plus club because I haven't done anything to deserve it. No, Jared Goff has definitely earned what he's gotten. He's definitely deserving of it. Because think about this. Out of that list of 8 guys, only 4 of the quarterbacks on that list have even been to a damn Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts, and Jared Goff. Furthermore, when you start whittling down that list and get it a little bit more specific, there are only 2 guys on that list that have been to multiple conference championship games. Oh, wait a minute. Who's that again? That'd be Patrick Mahomes and Jared Goff. And there's only 1 quarterback that's on that list that's been to the conference championship game with 2 separate teams. Oh, wait a minute. Who's that again? That's Jared Goff. So again, Jared Goff definitely deserves to be in that very small, very, very select list of quarterbacks. If anybody that's on that list that definitely does not deserve to be there, it's definitely Kyler Murray. Let's just be fair and entirely honest with ourselves here, shall we? But anyway, I digress. Now, moving off of that point, let's take a look at the primetime record because, hey, you know what? Primetime games are important. Primetime games are considered, playoff games in the regular season because if you're in a primetime game, you're typically going up against some of the best talent that's in the game, and chances are very highly that you're probably going to have to play that team in the playoffs, especially if it's a conference opponent. Well, I decided to take a look at the guys that I put in that list of the 10 quarterbacks from earlier. And I decided to take a look at their primetime record, which, let me tell you something, you taking a look at all of their seasons and all the games that they've played and trying to figure out which ones are primetime games versus regular games, it gets rather squirrely with the numbers. But this is what you find out. Joe Burrow has a 3-3 record in primetime games. Justin Herbert has an 8-8 record in primetime games. Lamar Jackson actually has a really good record in primetime games. He's 16-4. Jalen Hurts, 8-6 record. Kirk Cousins, as we already knew, 12-20. Absolutely god-awful. You take a look at Baker Mayfield, he's got a 6-8 record in primetime games. Geno Smith, probably the worst of the bunch. He's got a 3-10 record in primetime games. Josh Allen, pretty good record, 16-6. Matthew Stafford, the exact same as freaking Kirk Cousins, 15-25, stinks to high hell. And then you take a look at Jared Goff. He's got a 15-11 record in primetime games. Well, I decided to then take a look at the win percentage of each of the quarterbacks. You want to know where Jared Goff stacks out of those other 9 quarterbacks on that list of 10? Jared Goff has the 3rd best win percentage in primetime games over the entire course of their careers. Not since 2021, over the course of their careers. Obviously, number 1 is Lamar Jackson. He's got an 800 win percentage rate in primetime games. Pretty damn good. Josh Allen is right next after that and ranked number 2 with 696. Jared Goff is at point number 3 with a .577. So Jared Goff, in terms of the statistical production, as far as qualitative against other quarterbacks, is definitely in the middle of the pack, leaning towards the upper end of the charts. In terms of what he's been able to do against other quarterbacks that have been paid 200 plus or more, he definitely can stand and hold his own against those guys. And then when you take a look at what Jared Goff has done in the primetime factor, he's 3rd best out of all the guys that have been paid since 2021 with the 3rd best win percentage in primetime games. So again, I'm proving beyond a shadow of a doubt that Jared Goff belongs in this category of the top-end paid quarterbacks because, wait a minute, as I've said before, but I'll say it again for those in the back that can't seem to hear me or choose not to hear me, Jared Goff deserves to be paid like a top 10 quarterback. He deserves to get that money. He deserved what he got. But now, we still have one last parameter to go over. Here's the parameter. Playoff success. This is the parameter that I believe that for most people is the one that speaks the highest volumes because it's like, listen, you have to be able to win games in December and January and obviously getting into February when the Super Bowl's going on. But think about this, folks. I then decided to do the exact same thing I did with the primetime, win-loss record for the postseason win-loss record. Here's how those other 9 quarterbacks compare with Jared Goff out of that list of 10 again. Joe Burrow has a 5-2 record. Justin Herbert, 0-1. Lamar Jackson, 2-4. Jalen Hurts, 2-3. Kirk Cousins, a dreadful 1-4. Baker Mayfield, 2-2. Geno Smith, 0-1. Stafford, 4-4. He gets a nice little star because he actually has a Super Bowl win. That's what makes him special out of that list. Josh Allen, 5-5. And Jared Goff, 5-4. When you take a look at that particular list, just like I did with the primetime success list, Jared Goff is second on this list in terms of win-loss percentage in terms of the postseason. Number 1 is Joe Burrow with a .714. Jared Goff is number 2 with a .55. And then there's a three-way tie for the third place because you have 3 quarterbacks that have even records at 500 apiece. That's Stafford, Allen, and Baker. After that, it gets very, very pathetically bad. Let's just call it for what it is. But like I said, Stafford gets a star because he's the only one on the list that has won a Super Bowl. He's not the only one that's been to a Super Bowl, but he's the only one that's won a Super Bowl. But again, let's think about this in terms of the perspective of the Detroit Lions here. Jared Goff, again, first quarterback in Lions history since Eric Kramer to win the Lions a playoff game. That was 31, 32 years ago? He's also the first quarterback in Lions history since 1993. Whether it was Eric Kramer or Rodney Peete, I don't give a damn. I don't care. I know some people say it's Pete. Some people say it's Kramer. I don't care. Point is, he's the first quarterback since 1993 to win the Lions a division crown. So again, that was another feat that was not accomplished for 30-some years. And Jared Goff was the first quarterback to get a Lions team since the 50s to win 2 playoff games in the same season. Something that hadn't happened in 60-something, almost 70-something years. And Jared Goff got the Lions to their second only NFC Conference Championship game, something that has not happened since 1991. Oh, and like I said, not only is Jared Goff out of the list of the other 9 quarterbacks on that list of 10, got the second highest playoff win percentage, Jared Goff, again, is the only one on that list that has been to more than 1 conference championship game appearance. So great. Joe Burrow, he's been to a Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts, been to a Super Bowl. Stafford, been to a Super Bowl. Just like Goff, been to a Super Bowl. But Goff is the only one of them that's been to a conference championship game twice, and again, with 2 separate teams. That's pretty impressive. Now, I could stop there. But you know me, folks. I just love to keep driving home the point. I just love to keep, twisting that knife in people's proverbial figurative hearts that hate Jared Goff or at least hate the idea of him being the long-term quarterback. So I decided to go a little bit further with here. You guys are going to have a little bit more fun with me. Think about this, folks. 2021, 2022, when Jared Goff first got here, you all remember there were droves, crowds of Lions fans that wanted freaking Brad Holmes to draft a quarterback to replace Jared Goff. They couldn't wait to get their quarterback of the future. 2021, 2022, there were a grand total of 6 quarterbacks that were drafted in the first round. Think about that, folks. 6 quarterbacks drafted in the first round between those 2 drafts. That's not a whole lot. But here's what's really, really bad, really, really peculiar about that particular stat. Of those 6 quarterbacks, only one of them is still with the team that drafted them and still remains the starter. The other 5 guys have been traded to other teams because they were that bad. Think about that, folks. A lot of those guys that are on that list, there were a lot of Lions fans that wanted to take over for Jared Goff. And think about it. They've now been discarded. They have been completely thrown off to other teams because they were bums. They were busts. So think about that one. That right there shows me that in 2021, 2022, and by the time we got to 2023, it really didn't matter as far as rookie options were concerned. The rookie options at quarterback were absolutely complete failures and terrible. So think about it. I have proven from the veteran ranks that Jared Goff more than can hold his own against the best of the best in the NFL, statistically and in terms of being able to win in the big games. But in terms of the production from, the college ranks as far as prospects that have been coming out, Jared Goff absolutely makes them look like trash. So think about it. Jared Goff has not only surpassed or matched production in terms of statistics, whether it's been qualitative or quantitative, he's also passed in terms of being able to show he can win, like I say, the big games, whether it's primetime or postseason, And he has shown that when it comes to the rookie quarterbacks that have been coming out over the last couple of years, there's not a single one that even comes close to matching his ability on the field. So, let's put this in a very, very definitive, very, very succinct, very simple way for, again, those in the back that don't want to listen or are hard of listening, hard of hearing. Let's think about this, folks. Jared Goff has more than earned the money that he's gotten. And think about this. If you want to say that Jared Goff got overpaid, he did not get overpaid, folks. Again, think about it. There are 7 quarterbacks that are in front of him in that 200-plus club that I just talked about that are getting paid more total money than what he's getting paid. In terms of average per year, yes, he's the second highest paid quarterback. But in terms of total money, he's at the very bottom of that $200-plus million club of quarterbacks. But let's just think about this, folks. Let's just think about how much Jared Goff would have gotten if he'd been out on an open market. I can guarantee you this. Jared Goff would have easily gotten more. Because think about this, folks. If you don't believe me, what did Kirk Cousins get out on the market? He got a 4-year, $180 million contract, $45 million a year. Jared Goff's better than Kirk Cousins. Danny Dimes with the Giants got a 4-year, $160 million contract, which was for $40 million a year. Derek Carr got a $150 million contract at $37.5 million a year. Jared Goff's better than all 3 of those quarterbacks easily, by far and away. Jared Goff, if he'd been out on the free market, could have easily gotten much more money than what the Lions gave him. So when people want to say that Jared Goff should have given the Lions a hometown discount and should have paid for only like 40 or 45 million, understand something here, folks. That was never going to most likely happen in the first place, because that right there would have been like a huge, that would have been like a freaking earthquake through the entirety of the NFL. But the fact that Jared Goff did not reset the market, did not take more money than what he could have, and didn't become the highest paid quarterback, not only in terms of total cap money, as far as of the total money on the contract, but also in terms of average per year, he gave the Lions a discount. It's just not the discount that some Lions fans, particularly the ones that are moaning and groaning about this, would have liked. My whole point is this. Jared Goff was not overpaid. Jared Goff was actually paid very fairly. Actually, you could make an argument he took less money than what he could have gotten. Those are the facts. Get used to it. But anyway, folks, I figured I'd put this episode together because I know, again, the Jared Goff contract right now, there's a lot of stuff being talked about it. There's a lot of people that are going back and forth about it, and it ain't going to be dying anytime soon. And if you're looking for your Jared Goff information, you know exactly who to talk to, because I got it all, and I know every part of it. Well, with that having been said, I'm going to end the episode and say thank you all for watching another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. If you like what you saw, by all means, I encourage you all to do one of these 3 things. Like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. If by chance you subscribed in the past, you forgot to do so at the time, or you just subscribed and not had a chance to do so, again, highly encourage you all to subscribe. But I also want you to make sure you hit that bell notification icon that's right next to the subscription button, so that way you never miss any more content that I push out. Also encourage y'all please to share this content amongst your Lions friends and family members. Share it here on YouTube, share it on Twitter, share it on Facebook, share it anywhere and everywhere you can with everybody that you possibly can. The more we can share it, the greater the channel grows and spreads. And with that being said, to everybody, I just want to say I hope y'all have something in your life today that makes you happy, makes you smile. I hope y'all got something that you're just absolutely ecstatic about. I hope y'all enjoyed the content. And with that being said, God bless. And until the next time we meet, I'll see you all in the next episode.